Orale! Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFB podcast. This is your host, Jorge Martin, and Feliz Año Nuevo. Happy New Year. Happy 2023, Familia. Oh, I'm so excited. 2022 was great. Hopefully you guys got some victories. Hopefully more victories than losses. Hopefully we were able to help you out. Just hopefully you had a good time. And I really hope you didn't have to face Tom Brady and Mike Evans in week 17. So, familia, I just thank you so much for joining us. Ready for a new year. My goodness. I mean, well, first off, please make sure you're following us on YouTube. If you haven't already, give us a like and subscribe. Por favor, por favor, por favor. And familia, I tell you, you know what? It's a new year. Make sure you're getting out to fantasy points. Fantasy points, we've got all, they've got early bird special, get 30% off, get your 2023 subscription all the way through the Super Bowl. Get that. You're not going to get a better rate right there. No promo code or anything. Just get in there. So, familia, I've been wanting to do this show for a long time. This show in particular, not that I wanted the season to end or anything like that, but this is our invitada de lujo is someone I've been wanting to have on as a guest. Those of you who are already in there, Albert, Mr. Scampers, hola, bienvenidos, happy new year. She's been in there, so I wanted to pluck her out of the chat and then bring her in here. And I will say I'm not often someone who yells I'm number nine, unless maybe I'm listening to Revolution number 9 by the Beatles, number nine. But she can say that. And she could say that proudly because she was the finalist out of 3,000 people who played the legendary Scott Fish Bowl 12. She finished at number 9. I had a blast meeting her 6 months ago at the LA Live Draft. She is the only finalist out of the 48 incredible minds that drafted that day. Just think about that. There are some real ballers in the fantasy football industry. None of them made it to the final 30, and she did. So, I had a blast meeting her, like I said. And, though at that point, I really felt like she was Familia because she'd been such a regular on the Familia FFB chat. So I've just had so much fun interacting with her that I had to get her on join with me. Let's give a warm welcome to Darcy Romero. But you know what? You all know her as Dame Overboard. Mi amiga, bienvenidos. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Jorge. This is awesome. I'm excited. I don't know why you'd like to have somebody, a little peon like me on your show, but I'm happy to be here.
You're not a peon. You are Familia. You're Familia. You know what? Here's the thing. This is so special. You started following, last year during the off season, and one of the things that I always knew, and I've talked about this with other people, especially the Front Yard Fantasy guys, where you had been a part of some mock drafts here and there, not on camera, but you were behind camera. And Joey told me, he goes, I can't tell you how many times I've been like, damn, Dame took my guy. She took my guy. So, yeah. So this is a place for great fantasy minds, great fantasy talk, and your familia, last name Romero. So yes, you're definitely familia there. We're going to say a quick hello to some people. Mr. Scampers, hola, mi amigo Alberto. Happy New Year. And yes, shout out to Dame. Craig Reith. Hey, did you see that tweet I sent to you the other day with La Llorona, the La Llorona beer can? So yeah, that was that beer can scared me as good as it tasted. So Mr. Scampers, otra vez, happy New Year. Look at this, our overlord is overboard. Yes, my goodness, you got fans tonight, Dame. You got fans. Oh my goodness, woohoo. We got let's see who else we got. Yeah. I'm still getting used to calling her Darcy. So it's so funny. It's so funny. Yes, she's the mock draft thief. She is. And yes, you did see that, Craig. But yeah, mi amiga, I want to ask, so has that, I said that number 9 out of 3,000, has that sunk in yet from the Scott Fish Bowl?
I'll say yes and no. So I was so excited just to make it to the final 30 that whatever happened from there, it was just, let it fall where it may. But so, I mean, not really in the sense that I really can't fathom that I really am ninth out of 3,000, but it's just exciting. I mean, making it that far was just so cool. Like the thought of actually like having an actual shot to win it all was just crazy.
It was so great, and I'm still kicking myself that I didn't start Tyler Higbee because I would have joined you for that final 30. So, but my team fizzled on that last day, and I had Josh Allen, so I didn't get to have him in that one. But to get in there, I want to go back to 6 months ago. Who were the players that really powered you to the finals?
Well, you got to start with Mr. Patrick Mahomes. Um,
Oh,
Sorry
yes.
to my sister who hates him, but I had to go with him in the first round. I mean, thinking about him falling out of like the top two spots is kind of crazy looking back on it now. So it has to be Pat. Um, then we got Derrick Henry. You know, that was a solid one. Unfortunately, I lost him in the finals. Um,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then, my guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I had to get him everywhere I could, and he was just so good all year. And then Waddle. I mean, Waddle's another my guy, my penguin. He was just so awesome. Yeah, and I think you got an easy discount on him because everyone was so worried about him and Tyreek, and nobody knew what to make of Tua. But it ended up being pretty awesome.
Oh, those guys. Amon-Ra was one of my guys. It's so funny. And I love the fact that it was super flex because, it made us really concentrate on the quarterback position. And what slot did you draft out of?
Out of the four.
Oh, okay. And Mahomes made it to the 4.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Probably had some Justin Herbert fans in there.
Yeah, it was Herbert and Burrow who went ahead, who went in between Allen and Mahomes. So
Burrow was great. It's funny. Yeah, I was just making notes for tonight's show. I was kind of like, wow, I knew that Justin Herbert underwhelmed, but man, just looking at the entire body, you're kind of like, wow, he really missed those wide receivers this year. But Mahomes, I mean, so fantastic. All of those 300 plus yard games. Looking back, wasn't it kind of crazy how everybody was just kind of like, oh, he's just not gonna do that well without Tyreek Hill. All he's got is Travis Kelce, and yet he still was the man. I mean, how fun was that to having him and just putting up those 300 yards every week?
he's just really, really good at football. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter who he's throwing to. He's so creative, and then when you pair him with Andy Reid, it's just, I mean, you can't beat it. I mean, I guess you can with Josh Allen, but like, he's the clear 1-2 to me. In Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. So I mean, I don't know why we doubted him, but people did, and I think we're all a little bit wiser now.
And one of the things in single quarterback leagues, I think and I'm going to be preaching this probably every show from now until September is, we're going to have to, in single quarterback leagues, we're going to have to rethink taking the elite QBs early because I know I'm going to start making that recommendation. There's going to be about 4 or 5 quarterbacks that I'm going to be like, maybe 6, that I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, they're worth going early on. And you mentioned 2 of them, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Unfortunately, we didn't get Allen for that last week. Familia also, I meant to say this earlier. Apologies for not having a show last week, but I think I put it out on Twitter. I just didn't feel right doing anything last week with everything going on with DeMar Hamlin. Still praying for him and glad that he is home, that he's breathing on his own, that things are looking up. Just prayers are like Josh Allen said when after the Naheem Hines thing, his God is real. So he's just like it's pretty amazing. It is pretty amazing. And now I want to get back to Scott Fishbowl. Had you played in any of the Scott Fishbowls before?
11 was my first year.
Oh, okay, me too.
So I was in SFB11. I drafted out of the 4 both times. So that was kind of part of why I chose 4 this time. I actually I came in second in the games that we played to determine our draft order.
Mm-hmm.
I actually finished second. The guy who finished first for our division picked the 12 spot, and I actually tied with Liz Loza for second. And so we had to do rock, paper, scissors to determine who won. So I got to pick second after I kicked her butt in rock, paper, scissors. And I had to go with number 4. I mean, I just had to represent, I've made some good friends, a good camaraderie with the people who drafted number 4 in the SFB11. So I just felt right. And early on, I was kind of kicking myself because that number 1 was available. I could have had Josh Allen, and he was so hot to start the season. But ultimately, you know what? I'm glad I went with number 4. It worked out. Got me to number 9. So
yeah, you know what? And you know what? I'm going to really be a proponent of drafting early in the Scott Fish Bowl. It really is. I mean, I know that third round reversal is dastardly, but it's when it comes down to it, if you can assure yourself Mahomes, Allen, Jalen Hurts, one of those studs, you know what? I'm fine. I'm fine waiting. Who was your second quarterback?
Tua. So I got Tua in the 4th, and then when I lost him, I backed him up with Purdy. So I had Mayfield too. That was my 3rd who I drafted, and of course that didn't go as expected. But Tua being my number 2 started me out, pretty hot early on, and then I was able to kind of work my way after losing him.
It is amazing. I mean, you were probably able to pick up Purdy with, when all the teams got eliminated, and all of a sudden it's like, there he is. Let's take him. Now, was the strategy, after the quarterback early, what was kind of like your draft strategy after
that? So I knew I wanted a quarterback in round 1, as long as I didn't have a late round 1 pick. That was one thing that was a little different of doing the live draft is we didn't know our spots ahead of time. So you could mock draft, but you didn't really know where to mock draft from. So I had to do a bunch of different ones to kind of see what it was like. But I knew I only wanted one quarterback through the first, 2 or 3 rounds, unless something fell to me. It's all about value falling. So, but I knew that Tua was my target in round 4 or 5. I don't think he would have gone at 5. So I grabbed him in 4, and man, it was looking so good early on. Let me tell you.
Oh, when you're playing him, I mean, that week 2 where he was the QB1, where he threw 469 yards and just absolutely destroyed everything. And that was so amazing. That was so amazing. I love that. Love that. Yeah. Now you're just making me, reminding myself of that, just kicking myself for not swapping in Tyler Higbee for Pat Freiermuth. But that I will say that was probably that was a few times that I made a bad move all season. But for getting the invite to be a part of the LA Live draft, I've talked about this before. You've obviously, been on this, and I've talked about it with other people at the Fantasy Football Expo and everything. To actually be in the room with all those incredible fantasy minds, I mean, how did I know me, having befriended Tommy Lasorda, and you've got and Vin Scully knowing my name, and so many different people, and all the Dodgers from my youth, becoming friends. I still find myself getting a little starstruck seeing all the great fantasy minds in there. How was it for you when you met them?
Yeah, I was definitely starstruck. So going into it, I really didn't know what to expect. I'm just a fan, so I was, honestly had no expectations. I was so excited though, building up to it, I just couldn't contain my excitement. But first of all, I knew that I was going to meet you. So that was awesome to finally get to meet you, face to face. So that I was very excited for, and that was awesome. But yeah, there were just so many big names like Liz Loza. Obviously, I never knew that I would be playing rock, paper, scissors with Liz Loza. I like seeing Bob Harris, Michael Fabiano, Jen Pacenti. I got to meet, the whole Trophy Smack team was awesome. Kelly, is awesome. Matt, everybody was just so cool. I wish that I had been a little bit more forward in actually going and introducing myself to people. I was a little bit shy. So, and how could I forget Scott Fish? Of course, meeting him there was the biggest surprise of it all. Like that was just so cool. And I was one of the people who walked right by him when he popped up out of the little bar area. I walked right by, I didn't even notice him. And then it wasn't until I heard everyone like cheering and everything behind me that I turned around and was like, oh, well, I just walked right by Scott Fish. But yeah, I mean, there were so many big names. I mean, Lindsay Rhodes was there. Like, I mean, just so many people that I see on TV, and I'm like, what the heck? How is this real?
I
So fun.
drafted. I was sitting in between. I just put my bag down and then I went upstairs to take, because I got there probably about half hour after everything started, and I just put my bag down. And then when I got back to the table, I ended up at the wrong table, but everything was filled up at the table I was supposed to be at. So I ended up sitting between Bob Harris and Lindsay Rhodes, and right across from Mike, Fabs, and Jen. So it was just like we were actually Jen and I were talking baseball for quite a while. You'd love that. We just sat and talked Dodgers and Yankees and everything. Fabs came in on that one because he's a big Yankee fan. But yeah, it was just just spectacular. And and it's funny. There'll be an episode on with Liz in the future. I told Liz that part of the reason why I was there that day was because of a show she did with Mauricio Gutierrez, who was also drafting in your group. Because I reached out to him, and he was the first person. I had just started Familia FFB, and he was the first person to really answer any of my replies, any of my DMs, and we've become good friends. And I've seen him more in the last year than I did some really close friends of mine that I don't get to see very often. But it was just what a absolutely phenomenal time. And and how was that kind of like the culmination of just being such a big avid fantasy football fan? I mean, kind of how long have you been playing, and kind of what captivated you so much about it?
So I've been playing fantasy for quite a while. My brother-in-law, Steve, he actually is the one who introduced it to me back, we're talking newspaper days where, me and my two friends, he held a little draft for us. And, I was looking on the back of my football cards to try to like see, okay, who's going to be good, and, so he hosted that for us. And unfortunately that season was when like they stopped putting stats in the newspaper, things started shifting to the internet. But there really wasn't anything out there, so it kind of fizzled. But I then started doing ESPN drafts, with just random people that never really panned out. But I think in 2009 or 2010 is when we actually started our home league, redraft league, that we still have going to this day. So I mean, I guess that's really when I started diving into it. And then in the last probably 2 years, I mean, I guess you could say, somewhat in part to the pandemic, everyone's stuck at home, is I just started, I don't know, just diving into it more, listening to podcasts more. I found I found the FYF guys, and I just loved it, and it's a community. Like everyone is just so, encouraging of each other, and it's just fun. I absolutely love sports. If you can't tell from what's behind me, like I just love sports. So being able to like actually like, I don't know, participate and play games off of it is just, I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it.
So you got a fan in the chat. Hi, it's Kate from Potato Kate.
That's my niece.
Sobrina
Yeah,
Kate. Oh, you are
I've got my
familia. You are
niece that
officially
looks
familia.
like a couple sisters are in the chat. So yeah,
Look at
it's pretty
that. That's
cool.
awesome. That is awesome. Look at
Hi,
that.
Kate.
Oh, the fan club. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And you know what? That's the beauty of this game. I mean, I love that you started playing in the newspaper days. I started playing in the newspaper days. Touchdowns only, and kickers, just extra points. There would be days that your kicker outscored your top running back because your running back didn't get in the end zone, and your kicker got 3 field goals and an extra point, and you're just like, you won because of that. Oh, yeah. So how things have cut. I still play with some of my friends that are from the newspaper day, from the newspaper only days, and we laugh at how we used to have to wait until Thursday to find out if we won or not. So yeah, yeah. Mr. Scampers, this is truly a familia show. So favorite format to play in, redraft, dynasty, best ball, single quarterback, super flex, any favorites?
So, I mean, for me, redraft is like the ultimate. Like that's
Yeah.
where it kind of just sets the whole tone. It sets the season, right? Like once you're in
Mhm.
your redraft drafts, like I don't know, the endorphins like just skyrocket. Like everything is just so exciting. And it's a new year. You have all that excitement, but Dynasty I think has become my favorite just because it's year round. It keeps me engaged nonstop. I'm There's probably not a day that goes by where I'm not looking to see what can I trade, who can I trade. Um, it's just so much fun. And then I think also best balls on underdog have also kind of given me that same uh I don't know, just kind of fill the need in the off season, like I think I did some even pre-draft last year, like pre-NFL draft. So those and I ended up winning a couple of those. So it was like you just guess where the rookies are going to go and hope. But yeah, just I love being able to stay engaged all season or all off season. So I think I've Dynasty has kind of become my love. I'm in two of them now, which is I mean, I know people earn a lot more, but that feels like a lot of work to me. So I'll probably stick there, but I just love it.
It is a lot of work, but you're right. And to me, the thing about Dynasty, it's the people you play with. And I've gotten lucky to be invited to play in some leagues. In fact, G-Men J had a Dynasty league that just had an orphan, somebody leave the league. And so I was like, yes, I can't say no to that guy. So he mi hermano. So yeah, and I look up and it's like, oh yeah, I'm playing with Joey and and several other friends. So it's gonna be it's just fun. It's a familia affair. Yeah, and now this is important. When it comes to drafting for single QB, what is your strategy? Do you go heavy RB early? Hero RBs? Are you zero RB? Any favorite draft strategies that you love to employ?
In the past, before this past season, I was very RB heavy, and I think that was just kind of the way that our leagues have gone. Like, you want to get those running backs that are going to put up 12 to 18 points a week. But this past off season, I sort of shifted to either zero RB or hero RB. Hero RB, I think I liked most just because getting at least one guy that I mean, you're hoping they don't get hurt, but just knowing you can plug them in every week, no matter what. It doesn't matter matchup. Um, you just plug them in and figure it out from there. I did, however, start getting into zero RB a little bit more. And I was actually in a 14 team league that I ended up winning that I didn't draft my first running back until round 6. And it was Kareem Hunt, who stunk.
Oh
So I had
wow.
him. And then round 7, I ended up with Ramondre Stevenson. So thank you, Ramondre, for helping me get to the title on that one. But I mean, I just love wide receivers. They're so fun. And I feel like they're getting a little bit more consistent. I mean, you never know for sure. There's the Justin Jeffersons who, they might get you one catch for 15 yards every so often, which stinks. But
Week
they also
17.
can go off for 35 points. Yeah, week 17. Thank you. Um, but yeah, I mean
But
I
I
just
warned
feel like
you on that one. I warned you. I warned everybody about that one, about week 17 playing in Green Bay, that it was potentially a trap because Kirk is not good in the cold weather. But yeah, no. But I believe me, I still drafted. There were a couple places where I still drafted Justin Jefferson, so I'm with you on that one. But I love the zero RB idea, and you were one of the big, in the chat, you were one of the most vocal people I could see anywhere about Josh Jacobs for this year. And I really want to applaud you for that one, because that was a great call. And I kind of liked him. And when I saw that you were really high on him, that was just something that, what was it that got you, that was he one of your biggest hits this year?
um, you know, he would have to be, yeah. But honestly, I wasn't that high on him for this year. I was more high on him for Dynasty. Like I didn't trust the
Yeah.
Raiders to use him properly. And especially I did fall into the narrative trap about the Hall of Fame game and how they played him so much. And like, oh my goodness, what are we doing here? Like, so I did get caught up a little bit there, but I just know he's so young and he's so talented that, let's see what team he goes to after the Raiders. And that's where I was most high on him. Um, but yeah, he's just very, very good. And the Raiders have always just kind of been okay. And I don't feel like they've ever actually used him properly. I still think he can catch a heck of a lot more balls than than they give him now. But yeah, whenever we talk dynasty, running back rankings, I feel like he always is snubbed, and people forget he's young. Like, I think he's 24 now, but he's been in the league 4 years. He just
Yeah.
finished his 4th year.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's absurd. But yeah, so that has to be one of my biggest hits. That Amon-Ra St. Brown is another one that, when everybody was trying to find reasons not to be a fan of his and not to believe that he can do the same thing, or targets or earn targets and all that. Like, he's just good. I saw the guy score 4 touchdowns and a half at USC. Like, he's good. And so I don't know, like him, guys like Waddle, that and even like Tyreek, people are down on him. I feel like some of those guys are ones that I sort of, I believed in. Their talent is it's just that, it's talent, and they can find ways to impact games.
Talent definitely rises. And we got another fan in the chat. Darcy is the fantasy football queen from Charstar 419. So, and also thank you, RCHS XC. Muchas gracias, muchas gracias. And Mr. Scampers, yes, the sun god, Amon-Ra. Oh, he fueled so many of my teams, especially early on. I'll let you do that, even though ours is UCLA family.
I won't put up the V too often, I promise.
But you know what? And I want to acknowledge the greatness that you have over both of your shoulders right now. You got the banners for the World Series champions for the Dodgers, and also the banners for the World Series for the World Championships for the Lakers. Which one of the teams was the one that captivated you earlier? Obviously, you're SoCal, so one or the other became first love, or was it USC?
No, it'd be the Lakers, I think. Yeah, I grew up playing I started playing basketball at a young age, and I love basketball. I played basketball in high school, so that was kind of me. Other than football, basketball was my real love. So I loved my guy Kobe. Rest in peace. Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, it's got to be the Lakers, and then the Dodgers. They've just been so much fun to watch. These past 10 years or whatever it's been, like 12 years. It's been so fun. So I liked baseball as a kid, but basketball and football were definitely my first loves.
Oh man. And okay, so I need to know your favorite Dodger. You mentioned Kobe, but your favorite Dodger could be somebody from the last 10 years or ever.
I gotta go Ethier. I love Andre Ethier. Yeah, I just love the guy, and I love that he's still involved. They still bring him in here and there, and you see him at batting practice and whatnot. I just love the guy.
I'll feed you some stories offline. In fact, I'm gonna find something now that I have your email address. I'm gonna find an old feature I wrote on him that I think you'd really enjoy. Yeah, it's from my the Dodger magazine days that I think I'll find the PDF and I'll send it to you now that I can breathe that football season's over. But yeah, it's, I mean, not football season's over, because obviously we're going to talk about playoff football, but instead of worrying about 16 games, to worry about 6 games feels like a vacation. But you know what? And it's so wonderful that all those teams and football team now. Were you a football fan pre-Ram when the LA Rams in the first iteration had you become a Ram fan by then, or?
No, I'm a Rams fan of the new generation. I was sort of a free agent, and so when they moved here, or when they moved back here, a few years back, I just kind of decided, all right, let's kind of dip our toe in the water here and see what it's like. And I'm a fan of so many teams. Like, I like to root for the Rams. I like the Dolphins. I got to root for the Jags and Panthers for Mr. Scampers. It's like there's so many teams when it comes to football that I like to root for, that it's and players, especially playing fantasy, you start to like the players and you follow them around. I like the Packers. I think I'll always like the Packers. But yeah, as far as the Rams go, I'm a new Rams fan there.
Oh, well, yeah, I think I may have mentioned to you before that the Packers and the Dolphins were my teams during the break, when I was on a break from the Rams, or when the Rams were on a break from LA. But really, you're right, fantasy football was the catalyst very much. And a couple of Dodgers that need to get shout outs: Mr. Scampers, Brett Butler, and Can Frost. Go Pack, and also Eric Harros, that special one, because yes, my wife, a favorite, and a very dear friend of mine from 30 years ago. I got her an autograph of Eric Harros that she still has. So I got her an autographed baseball. So, but yes, and I got my wife to meet him, and I just said, yes, you know, one of your childhood crushes, I get to introduce you. So I'm still waiting for her to introduce me to Linda Carter. So not quite holding my breath on that one. Oh, and go Niners. Okay, yeah, you got you know, scoreboard. The Rams are still reigning more Super Bowl champions. But so I want to get back real quick to something about you mentioned the players that were big hits for you this year. Any players that just really let you down, that hurt you? We all have some.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like there's a lot. Like, I was really high on Pittman all off season. I tried to get him as many places as I could, and in some cases I was not able to get him, which turned out to be a good thing. So Melvin Gordon is somebody who I was targeting late in a lot of drafts, and I mean, that was just a dumpster fire. Like, especially thinking once Javonte Williams went down, it seemed like, okay, now we're going to get Melvin Gordon and he's going to take over. And I mean, the fumbles to getting benched, I mean, it was just bad. So, I mean, luckily that's not high draft capital, but it's still definitely a miss for me. Fournette is somebody I was pretty high on that. I mean, he was all right, but, you know, not for where I was taking him. Amari Cooper, I just missed on him being actually good. Like, I've never really been an Amari Cooper fan, and he actually proved to me, like, okay, he's somebody I need to look at. And then McLaurin is another one where I feel like I missed. Like, I love Terry McLaurin, but I just didn't trust the Commanders, and I didn't know who was going to be throwing him the ball. I traded him away in a dynasty league, and, you know, I mean, I got Saquon back for it, but so, I mean, I'm not too hurt on that, but I just feel like he's really good at football, and that was just one I didn't quite see. And then DJ Moore, I feel like, you know, he's still really good at football, but he's somebody I had in, like, I don't know, a lot of different leagues, and it just didn't. I mean, he wasn't that bad if you actually, like, look back at it, but there were just early on, it was just not good.
No, it was tough. And go ahead. And who else?
I was gonna say AJ Dillon is another one. I was so high on AJ Dillon.
Me too.
Goodness, and then he finally broke out. I finally saved the fantasy football world by dropping him, and then of course that's when he takes off. So to everyone who had him and he helped you get to a title, you're welcome. That was me.
Oh yeah, it was. Those are all tough ones, and you know, I was with you on Pittman and McLaurin and Moore. I mean, with Pittman and Moore, and actually McLaurin to a certain extent, but it's not their fault. It's the quarterback, and even McLaurin was able to be good even with a second stringer with Heineke. He actually got better with Heineke. So you know, those guys are. I'm definitely going to, I know with you, I think we're definitely going to be able to keep an eye on who their quarterback is going to be, but I'm not going to, like, discount them altogether, because they're still, like you said, good at football, just still good at football. And yes, Can Frost. Yes. So jealous. So jealous. I think that was the Eric Harros for the Eric Harros comment. Yes, I still he and I are born exactly 8 days apart. So and he still had many fans in the Dodger front office when I was there. Many young ladies were still like, "Oh my God, he's so good looking." I'm just like, like, he's old enough to be your dad. Come on. So last thing that before we jump into the wild card weekend, you know, with lessons learned from this season, anything that you really can't wait to try out in whether it be best ball or dynasty drafts or something like that?
Like, I don't know if there's anything like I'm eager to try out. I sort of feel like the zero RB thing is kind of the new toy that everybody's actually, trying to test drive and see how it goes. So I sort of feel like I did a little bit of that this off season. I think for me, it's the things I've kind of learned that I want to, use moving forward is to trust the players. They are, uh, you know, just trust the talent. Even if you think a situation might not be good, like looking at Mahomes, everyone thought, oh, he has no wide receivers. I mean, he still has Kelsey, but he's just so creative. He can do whatever, So just trusting that their talent will actually, I mean, that's why they're there. It doesn't matter what's around them necessarily. Um, so there's that. And then also just reminding myself to be flexible and not get so caught up in, okay, here's what I'm going to do on this draft. Because you never know how a draft is going to fall. Every draft is incredibly different. And you have to take the value when it's there. So you can go into it thinking, oh, I'm not going to take a quarterback until, I'm going to be the last one in the draft to take my quarterback. And then you're sitting there in round 7 and you might have a Jalen Hurts looking at you in the face. And it's like, all right, what are we doing? So I do feel like you just kind of have to adapt to what's going on. And so I don't really think there's any like strategies that I'm like, okay, here's what I'm going to focus on this off season, but it's just trying to stay patient and just stay flexible on being able to adapt with however the board falls.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, definitely that. I know 2 things I'm going to really keep an eye on for next year, and I hinted at that earlier. The early quarterback drafting, getting the elite quarterback. I know one thing, and Familia, and you're gonna. I hope you don't get sick of hearing this. Elite tight end is really one of one. It's Travis Kelsey, and either you get Kelsey or wait. But the other one is up as many young rookie wide receivers as possible, or and even the second year guys. Grab all of those guys because they are breaking out all over the place. It's not the third year wide receiver anymore. It's the first year we're getting guys breaking out, and there's going to be guys that are helping out your fantasy team. So preview, because that's something that we're going to be talking about a lot on Familia FFB. So, and what you and I are going to talk about a lot right now is Super Wildcard Weekend, Familia. Super Wildcard Weekend. How pumped are you for the playoffs this weekend?
I am giddy. I'm so excited. This is where it all comes down to, right? This is where like you're actually playing. Like it all comes down to this. So like I'm super pumped. And yeah, there's some good matchups I'm really excited for. Some duds, but some good ones.
And it's 6 games this weekend. 6 games. 3 in each conference. It's wall-to-wall football from Saturday afternoon for us in California, to Monday Night Football. That, hey, West Coast, best coast when it comes to time zones. Yes, give me that all day long, unless it's the London games. So that's a little too much. But hopefully we can go through these games, do kind of a quick breakdown of the games. I'll definitely do something a lot more in depth on FamiliaFFB.com, and I'll point that out on Twitter. The point spreads that I point out for these games are all from DraftKings Sportsbooks, and all per game averages that I point out to are from weeks 13 to 17. I'm not really counting a lot of week 18 on this one because there were so many wonky games on that one, teams that weren't going for it. So there's only one game that really looks like it's going to have weather this week, and it's going to be the first one up in of all places, sunny California. So this information that we're going to talk about, it could be for DFS, it could be for playoff drafts. I've got a playoff draft tomorrow night, so going to get into that one. But the interesting thing about this one, every game is a rematch. There are 2 interdivision where the teams have already played each other. So we're going to go in order, starting with Saturday afternoon for the West Coast people. I got San Francisco 9.5 point favorites hosting the Seattle Seahawks. It's going to be 55 degrees, rain in the forecast. Winds are going to be about 12 miles an hour. Brock Purdy, your guy, is coming up. But, from the Seahawks side, it's got to be tough. They lost both games during the season, week 2 and week 15. Lose 3 in a row. Geno Smith was not, he was wonderful during the season overall, but just okay in the games there. 49ers, they've just got that rock solid defense. In playoff drafts, how much are you just kind of like looking at some of the Seattle guys and being kind of like, I think I'm going to take it. I think I'm going to wait on these guys.
Yeah, Seattle, it's kind of a pass for me. Like I just can't. Gino's looked really good at points, but I just can't. I can't buy into it. Like, and I love Lockett. I think he's awesome.
Oh,
He's really
yes.
good, but I don't know. I mean, and especially against this Niners defense, this is brutal. I'm afraid for this game.
I think this game could run. I mean, the only thing that could keep this game down is the rain. But I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, the 49ers did a great job on DK Metcalf, held him to 35 and 55 receiving yards respectively in those two games. Tyler Lockett was able to get loose, got 107 yards on 9 catches in one game, 7 catches for 68 yards. But Lockett, he's got that injury that really limited him and made him miss a game. So I don't know how much I trust them. Kenneth Walker, I mean, he was so fun to have, but the 49ers are only giving up 67.2 rushing yards per game. So I don't know if I really don't know if you're right. I don't know if I could trust anyone. On the other side, on the 49ers side, Purdy, he comes on 6 games, 6 in a row. I mean, come on, man. I mean, it's got to be like he beats Tom Brady, his idol. He was even QB5 last week. The one thing that's tough though, the Seahawks, they're good in the secondary, so they don't give up a lot. I mean, he did get 200. He only got 217 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one. They're number 7 in fantasy points per game against the quarterback. What is, do you think Purdy, or are you looking at it's all McCaffrey all day long in this one?
McCaffrey. I mean, CMC all day. I mean, Purdy, as long as he trusts, his check down and, the play calls that they're drawing up for CMC, I mean, he's going to look good, I think. But really, it's just CMC. I mean, dude's a stud.
Oh yeah, yeah, and well, yeah. Mr. Scampers put in the chat rule number 1: draft Travis Kelce. I think if you don't draft Travis Kelce, grab George Kittle. 7 touchdowns in the last 4 games. I mean, it's just he has lived up to that cliche that they say who's the best friend of a young quarterback, the tight end.
Tight end.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's all right there. It's all right there. So I mean, I look at him. I mean, in playoff drafts, Kittle's going to be a guy to kind of keep an eye on. I'm curious what they're going to do with Deebo Samuel, because he's still working his way back from injury. He played 42 snaps out of 62 total. Are you potentially trusting him, or are you waiting on, you're only going to wait to have him fall in your lap if you're playing in a playoff league?
That'd be pretty much the only scenario I could see myself getting him. I just don't trust it all. He's very good, but especially with CMC, I mean, a lot of the little gadget plays are now involving CMC instead of Deebo, and he's just gets dinged up all the time. And I know I don't like to say injury prone, but dude plays hard, and that causes you to get banged up. And CMC is just tough.
Yeah, don't say injury prone, because Dr. Porras will hear you. He's like Voldemort. If he hears that, he'll get. And yes, Mr. Scampers, he might get another 2. You know what? He might get 3. You never know. I'm really looking to grab him up. So let's go to Saturday night. Saturday night's all right for the Chargers at Jacksonville. The Chargers are 2-point favorites, 47.5 point over under. It's 46 degrees in Florida, in Jacksonville, in Duval. Last time it was 38-10. The Chargers, I hinted at it a little bit more. Justin Herbert, QB 11. This is going to be the matchup. I mean, I don't think it's going to be 38-10 in this one. I think it's going to be a much more hard fought, but Herbert was still able to throw for 297 yards when they met in week 3, but he didn't have Mike Williams. Mike Williams was held down in that game, but they didn't have Keenan Allen. It's how much more are you pumped that hopefully he has both his guys? Keenan Allen has been phenomenal, 68 targets in his last 6 games. Hopefully Mike Williams is back and healthy. Is that almost the key to having this be, a game?
I think, yeah, I think the big key will be Mike Williams because that unlocks a different level to their offense that they don't have with just Keenan Allen and Ecklebugs. But like, yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know if he's going to be healthy. Like hearing that he had to be like helped to the, the bus after the game on, was it Sunday? When did they play? I don't know, Saturday,
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah.
That, and he just didn't look right. You could tell he was in some serious pain. So, I mean, if he makes it back, I think that will help him. I still like the Jags here, though. I mean, I don't know. I think the Jags are gonna find a way to pull this one out. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think it's 38-10, maybe 27-24, something like that, but I do think they need Mike Williams, though, in order to unlock the full offense.
Yeah, if it's Mike Williams, it's going to be that's going to be, if Mike Williams is healthy, I think it's going to be just a crazy good game. Uh, I, the one thing is the Jaguars do have a really good defensive front. And so they're really going to be in Herbert's grill a lot in this game. Rashawn Slater isn't going to be back. Eckler, Ecklebugs, as you mentioned, just a phenomenal RB1 season overall. The Jags are, I think, they need to unlock him in this game because he only had 53 total yards last time these two teams met, and the Jaguars are giving up 132.8 scrimmage yards per game to the running backs. So they've been getting beat up, but then on the other side, you got the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, phenomenal, 4 top 10 finishes in the last 7 games, weekly finishes. He had 300 plus yards and 3 plus touchdowns in 3 games since their week 11 bye. He actually was a big catalyst for being the second quarterback that I took in Scott Fishbowl. So he was very much a dude for me. But here's the thing: the Chargers have become better on defense. So something's going to give is the defense. Obviously, they got Joey Bosa back,
Yeah, they're
and he looks like
healthy.
he's
They're healthier.
it looks. Oh, what is that? Is that almost kind of like as exciting as anything else for you on this game? Just seeing how that defense does against the Jags.
That'll be one of them for sure. I mean, I I still think I like Doug Peterson. I think that he's a smart coach, and he'll find a way to figure out the defense. Like he'll come up with his gadget plays. Um, yeah, I think the Chargers have done a pretty good job putting together a good defense, and they have looked better. But I still feel like they just got a long way to go. Even with a defensive head coach, it's like I don't know. Just something doesn't seem quite right there.
I think it really is. It may be the coaching, like you said, the difference is going to be the coaching. Peterson, a Super Bowl winning coach, Brandon Staley coaching in his first playoff game. So vamos a ver. It's I think that may be one of the better games of the weekend. Here's a game that I think is going to be rough. You got, and I wish nothing but good things for Tua Tagovailoa, who's already been ruled out for the Sunday first game, Miami at Buffalo. Buffalo is 13-point favorites, 43.5-point over under. It's going to be 27 degrees and clear in this game. Wind is not going to be much of an issue, but the Dolphins are down to their quarterback 3. Tua's out. Teddy B is out. Tyreek Hill hobbled with an injured ankle. Terran Armstead, their stud left tackle, is probably not going to play throughout the playoffs. You got Raheem Mostert. It's a mash unit with these guys. Even Jalen Waddle, your Penguin, he's been battling an injured ankle. I mean, I get the feeling this is just too much for one team to deal with. I almost would have liked to have seen the Steelers in here instead of the Dolphins, but what
Gosh,
how tough is this game going to be to watch?
it's not going to be pretty. And I like the Dolphins. I just feel like they ran out of luck. I mean, or had no luck to begin with. I'm not sure which it is, but I mean, it's just been a rough go of it over the middle stretch of the season, and then to end it all. And then Buffalo, I mean, they've, I mean, there's just going to be so much energy there, and they're playing for their brother in Damar Hamlin like that. I just don't see how the Dolphins can overcome this. Skylar Thompson has not looked good. Like It's just, I don't know. I just think they ran out of luck.
And you know, and it's a good weather team playing in sub-freezing temperatures. I think it's just too much to ask for them. It's just rough. And you know, the Bills. I kind of I'm reminded of back in 1990 when Loyola Marymount, switching gears to March Madness, where they were dealing with the death of Hank Gathers, but the team
Mhm.
just became energized and became a national darling, and they played all the way to the Grade Eight. I think the Bills are going to feed off of this. I think with Damar being back in back in Buffalo, who knows? Maybe he pops into the facility to inspire the guys. I know Josh Allen doesn't need much inspiration to be great. He's the QB1 in fantasy points per game with 25.9, whereas Mahomes was number one overall. A great game last time in Week 15 when they met. 304 yards, 4 touchdowns, 10 rushes, 77 yards. I think we're going to see more of the same of this. I just think Josh Allen is going to be able to take apart this team.
Yeah, and with the few things I said, I forgot to mention that the Bills are also just really good. So,
Yeah,
I mean, they've been, in conversation for the best team all season. So, it's just a team that is looking really not great running into a team that's awesome and also has some added motivation. So this could be a bad looking game.
yeah. With the 13-point spread, it's a tough one. I think Diggs was big last week with the 104 yards on 7 catches. Nobody else has really done much. Gabe Davis, everybody's darling of the offseason. 10 targets last week was the most that he had since week 10, but he only turned it into 3 catches for 39 yards. So I think the one guy I kind of keep an eye on is Dawson Knox in this game. He went for 98 yards on 6 receptions and a touchdown on this one. So very possible. I don't know if I think for me, I'm discounting James Cook and Devin Singletary a little bit. They didn't really do much with against the Dolphins last week, and the Dolphins have not allowed a 100-yard rusher this whole season. So, let's go to a fun game. Giants at Minnesota. This was a blast of a game, 27-24. Minnesota winning and it's the same conditions. It's a dome. Minnesota is 3-point favorites, 48.5-point over under. I'm looking at this game going over. Daniel Jones, he had 2 300-yard games. One was against the Vikings, who have not been able to stop the pass this entire season. Richie James, Isaiah Hodgins are 2 guys to keep an eye on for DFS because they've gotten some targets and they could be cheap plays this week. Can you see the Giants putting up some points in this game?
I can. I wouldn't be surprised if they upset the Vikings. I think they're actually really good. And I mean, they're really good and they're finding ways to get everybody involved, even guys that you've never heard of. So, Dable's smart coach. He's figuring it out. And, we all know primetime Kirk Cousins, we'll see if he shows up. I mean, who knows? You know, if he can just get the ball to Justin Jefferson, I like that, to Hawkinson, but he's bound to make some boneheaded decisions. And I could easily see the Giants being able to hang in there and pull out a win here.
Very much, very much. And Saquon went for 133 scrimmage yards. And a touchdown. He gave them every chance to win this game. And the Vikings are giving up some yardage to the running backs, 146.2 scrimmage yards per game. So you mentioned primetime Kirk Cousins, and this game is yes, the Vikings are bad, Mister. They're bad, not like Leroy Brown. So they're they're the baddest defense in the whole damn town, especially against the pass. The Vikings, Kirk Cousins, he's so different. At home, 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. On the road, 11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He went for 299 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Giants. You mentioned Justin Jefferson, 12 catches, 133 yards, and a touchdown on 16 targets last time when they played the Giants. It's a great game. And you also mentioned TJ Hawkinson. he had a big game against them. Could, you know, the Giants have been able to give up some yardage in this one. Are they going to have to, you know, concentrate on the pass in this game to just really come, you know, bring it home?
Uh, yeah, but then you also have to consider they also have Dalvin Cook. I mean, he's
Yeah.
really good too. You know, so like if you shut down the pass, I do think that is the key to stopping them. Is if you shut down the pass, you know, it's going to be easier to focus on Cook. But um, yeah, I mean, Cousins is finding Hawkinson a lot, and you know that's exciting. But he's got to make sure that he actually can do that this week. And I don't know. I don't have good feelings for them.
Yeah, it's I don't have good feelings for either defense in this game. I think the if the Giants can rush the pass, so they've been really attacking the quarterback a lot, getting a lot of sacks of late. But if the Vikings are able to hold off the pass rush, I think this is just going to be a shootout. It may be like the last game where it's whoever has the ball at the end is going to win. So it's gonna be a fun game, fun game. You know, we talked a little bit about the Miami Buffalo game not being fun. I think Baltimore Cincinnati game is going to be a rough one too. I mean, they split the series during the season. Baltimore won in week 5, 19-17. Cincinnati won 27-16 in week 18. But Lamar missed practice today. He hasn't played since before Thanksgiving. I'm not getting a good feeling that he's going to play. And I mean, how do you win with a third string quarterback in the playoffs against the team that went to the Super Bowl last year? I don't love the odds. I don't love the odds.
Yeah, we've got 3 third-string quarterbacks that are in the playoffs this week, and, 2 of them are not like the 3rd and Purdy. You know, these other, Skylar Thompson and Anthony Brown, I mean, they have not looked great. So,
Oh,
it's not gonna be pretty. I mean, Andrews has not looked like himself. I think he's pretty dinged up. They have no wide receivers to throw to. Their running back has 1 fast leg and 1 leg that's dragging behind him. Like, I don't know. This could be a bloodbath. And then the Bengals are also just good. So,
it's just so good, just so good. I mean, the tough part is the Bengals have been giving up some passing yards, 262.8 passing yards per game. Yeah, if the Ravens are going to have any kind of chance, it may just be the two-headed monster of Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Because I mean, J.K. Dobbins could help get him there from the running back side. He does have 93 rushing yards in 3 of his last 4 games since he came back from an injury absence. But the Bengals have been pretty good against only giving up 68 rushing yards, which is number 5 in rushing yards allowed to the running back. You mentioned Bengals. That Joe Burrow is just so good, and they're putting the ball in his hands. They are putting the ball in his hands. You know, that is going to be the tough part in this game. You know, he's only got 31 passing attempts. Sorry. He has at least 31 passing attempts in every game since they went on their week 10 bye, and he's got 2+ touchdown passes in all but 2 games in that span. He's doing everything. I know that the Ravens have tightened up on the defensive side, especially against the pass, but I don't know if they're going to be able to stay with the Bengals. I don't know if they're going to be able to stop. I mean, the Jamar Chase, 7 receptions in all of his 5 games since he returned from injury. I'm calling a big game. What do you think on Jamar Chase having a big game in this one?
oh, yeah. I mean, that's easy to see. Has big games all the time, but like, I don't know. He knows when to show up. You know, he's so talented. And Joe knows how to find him, you know. So I'm excited about that. But I do think this is going to look like the JV team versus a varsity team. I mean, the
Uh,
Bengals, they have all the weapons.
all the weapons and going up against and this is a quarterback driven league, and it's just lo siento mucho, Ravens. I really hope Lamar Jackson gets back healthy because I love watching him play. He's one of my favorite players, so I want to see him Uh, but yeah, I know that one interesting thing about this one is Joe Burrow has had two pretty pedestrian games against Baltimore this year. So 217 one touchdown, one interception, and 215 yards and one touchdown without an interception in the most recent game, which was week 15. So, but I don't think it's going to matter this week. I think he's going to bust out. It's just going to be they're not going to be able to stop these guys.
Yeah.
And nothing can stop us from getting to Monday Night Football, mi amiga. And this is a rematch of Week 1. The Cowboys at the Buccaneers. It's the Cowboys are 2.5-point favorites. How is the GOAT a 2.5-point underdog at home? And it's going to be perfect weather, 61 degrees, clear, no wind, 45.5-point over under in this game. I'm actually looking at this game going over, but I mean, amiga, how is the GOAT going to be an underdog in this game when Dallas looked so bad last week?
I don't know. Dallas, I mean, they're like, I don't know if Jekyll and Hyde's the right way to put it, but they look so good one week, and then the next, they look like a completely different team. And like CD has looked great, but they're not getting any other pass catchers involved consistently, you know. No, not go Cowboys. But I mean, Tom Brady, like he has not looked like the normal Tom Brady we're used to, but it's all, you just got to get to the dance, and he found a way to get here. And like, are we really going to discount him? You know, the Cowboys are a heck of a defense, but I honestly could see this game going either way. I could see it being a blowout with the Cowboys winning, or I could see it being a very close game where Tom Brady ekes it out.
I'm leaning towards number 2 because I think Brady's going to get the ball at the end of the game with 2 minutes left, needing a tie ball game, needing a field goal. It could be like 28-28 at that point, and then just need that field goal to go over. They may have found something. The interesting thing, the Cowboys, their defense, especially Micah Parsons, they fly on the turf, but they slow down a little bit on grass, and they've been a little more human on that, on instead of superhuman. So I that's where I'm kind of looking that split second is going to give Brady enough time to do something in this game. And the other interesting part is the one thing that they may need to do, they being the Cowboys, they're going to need to use the running game. Their running backs. It could be, Pollard, who's a dual threat, or Zeke, but the running backs have gotten through against the Bucs. Tyler Algier got 135 rushing yards. James Conner got 120 scrimmage yards against the Bucs in Week 16. The Bucs are giving up some scrimmage yards to the running backs. I will say one thing, Familia. If you're thinking about any wide receiver other than CeeDee Lamb on the Cowboys, stop thinking. If you don't get CeeDee Lamb, ignore the Cowboys. Maybe you get Dalton Schultz as your tight end, but just ignore the Cowboys. Nobody's getting anything on that one. And where do you feel on that one?
I agree. I mean, and Schultz, he's looked good, and Dak Prescott sure does like to find him, but they've got 2 other tight ends that are, they're playing. They're actually getting playing time, and they're looking pretty good too. So I feel like he's trending down, and I don't know that you want to trust it here.
I don't think so. But speaking of trust, Brady, I kind of want to trust Brady this week. The Cowboys, they've been giving up some yardage to the wide receivers of late. Terry McLaurin is getting some, got 74. Jahan Dotson got 72. You got both the Eagles guys, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith went over 100 yards against them in Week 16. Maybe that 10 catch, 207 yards and 3 touchdown game in Week 17 that helped nobody because it helped me win a consolation championship. Woohoo.
Yeah.
3rd place. But but I think something's happening where Evans and Godwin could come out and have big games against this defense, because Trayvon Diggs can't cover both of them.
Yeah, Godwin is good. He's been good all season long, and it's just a matter of Brady finding him. And then I do think that the breakout that Evans had is a very good sign for them moving forward, because he was looking very poor. Like, I don't want to say anything too mean, but it was looking very bad. And like, they couldn't connect. They were dropped passes. Brady is overthrowing him. Like, it was just bad. But I think that them finding that connection again, and then having Godwin also to be the possession receiver, and create a little bit of opening for Mike Evans to have that big game. Like, it's very hard for me to not look at them and think this could be a sneaky team this week.
Yeah, I think it's gonna, and the tough part is, well, a tough part only if you're a Cowboy fan. If they lose, it's just going to be the national narrative all over again. The Cowboys cannot win, and they haven't won since 1995, and everything like that. So, well, boo-hoo for them. So they had the trips in the 90s, so they could do that. The interesting thing is it's the playoffs. So playoff Lenny, could in fantasy drafts, could you trust him? This seems tough.
That's tough. That is tough. And I have not gotten a good feel for what they're doing at running back the whole season. In my main redraft league, I had both Fournette and Rashad White, and it was like, do I flip a coin or do I just play them both? And they've both looked good at various points, but I do think lately we're seeing Brady trusting Fournette a little bit more when it comes to needing somebody who's going to actually pick up the right block, and then be able to leak out for those little little just checkdowns that Brady and Fournette have connected on time after time. I think it's probably going to be Fournette over Rashad White, but I do think that the two of them, they work well together. Like, you can spell Fournette with White, and that's another reason why I feel like they're settling in on what they want to do, which is mainly focus on Fournette, or focus on getting the ball to Fournette. So he could be playoff Lenny. I don't know if we'll see it in the way we did in prior years, but I think they're going to use them both, but I do think Lenny's going to be the main one.
I think you're right. I think you're right, and he's going to get some work in the passing game. He had nine receptions in week 17, so that game was just ridiculous. So, I think they're going to win. I really think that the Buccaneers are going to win, and I don't think it's too much of an upset to say that. I mean, I know it's only a 2.5 point spread, but I'm looking at that one. So, we did it. We got through the 6 games. So, mi amiga, I want to close out with a fun one that you've listened to this one, you've seen this. So, this being Familia FFB, we love to talk Mexican food at the end. So, and nothing is a greater staple than tacos. Favorite taco types, and do you have any favorite spots locally?
So I'm carne asada first and foremost.
Oh, yes.
I do love birria, but I mean, really, if I want just the go-to, it's going to be carne asada. I don't feel like we have any like really good like restaurants where I'm at. Like, everything's just kind of the same. All the Mexican restaurants, they're all just kind of a little, just slight differences, but everything's pretty much the same. I love San Diego Mexican food, like just all the little hole in the walls that you can find like down by the beach. And I love San Diego Mexican food, but really, like you were saying earlier, it comes down to the homemade Mexican food is the best. Like, my husband makes incredible flautas, taquitos. He makes great enchiladas. Like, everything is just so good. And of course, this all comes from his family, who's I grew up on, but as a young adult, eating their homemade Mexican food, and you just really can't beat it. And especially like summer days, you throw some carne asada on the grill, have a beer. It's delightful. So it's got to be the homemade.
What's the beer you're gonna sip on when you're when you're waiting for the carne asada, or just to grab some pieces off the grill?
So it's got to be a Brewyard Beer Company beer. I'm a big fan of their
Ooh.
beers. They're Glendale, California based, and I love all their beers. My go-to there is probably Citra Bang. So a nice hoppy IPA style beer. That'd be my go-to there.
Oh man, well, I'm going to take you up on we talked about an invite. We don't live too far apart, so I'm gonna have to take you up on the invite and yeah, and grab one of those beers with you. So
Let's do
yes,
it. That'd be awesome.
definitely with you and hubby. Oh, love it, love it. Oh, mi amiga, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. Please tell me you had a good time, even if you have to lie.
It was awesome. I may go vomit afterwards out of just all the nerves finally leaving my system. But no, it was a blast. It's always fun hanging out with you. I don't mind if it's in the chat or doing it live is fun too.
Oh man, and shout out to the FYF crew. You guys gotta. I know you guys are gonna watch this later. You guys got to get her on one of the game shows one of these days. Just a blast, mi amiga. Darcy Romero, Dame Overboard, mi amiga. Thank you so much. This was beyond a blast. This was even better than I thought it was. Yes. Got one last. Yes. Excellent show, Dame. Yes, she was the star of the show, and I loved having her on here. So thank you, and everybody, thank you so much for being a part of the chat. This was fantastic. So, I mean, this was a great way to start off 2023. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Thank you for joining it. Hopefully, you guys, please give us a like and subscribe, por favor, on YouTube. Thank you. I'm saying thank you in advance. Also, if you want the audio version of this, please make sure you go to Familia FFB, Apple, Google, Spotify. Muchas gracias to Anchor for putting us out there on all of those formats. Also, familiafb.com. I'm going to have playoff content out there, help you win some money on the DFS side, maybe win some money on the on your playoff drafts, something like that. So make sure you're following that, and you find me, Jorge Martin 17 on Twitter. Push everything out that way. So muchas gracias otra vez, Dame. Muchas gracias. And to you, everybody, otra vez feliz año nuevo. And remember, todos somos familia. Salud.